To another meaningful Monday. Sorry, the last couple of weeks have been kind of up in the air, crazy month so far in January. 2022 has been a very interesting year already. But that being said, we're back for another edition of Meaningful Monday, and today I want to talk about something that I think is especially relevant since a lot of folks are talking about starting their own businesses. We're in the midst of the Great Resignation right now, and a lot of folks are leaving their jobs to try to start their own businesses and take steps for themselves. And I think that's good and bad, right? I think the problem is that it's a good one because people are going off and pursuing their dreams, so to speak, right? They're going after things that they really want, and they're making themselves a priority, making their goals a priority, making their families a priority, and trying to be independent. That's great, right? On the flip side of things, though, there are people who are starting businesses who have, frankly, no business starting a business. And I don't say that to be elitist. I don't say that to be, discriminatory or in terms of like, oh, I'm better than anyone else. It's not about being better than or less than. It's just some people aren't a great fit for starting a business. And what I mean by that is this: when you start a business, there's a lot that goes along with that. And there's some people who are much better as employees, and some people who are much better as business leaders or business owners. Look no further than any classroom or any job, frankly, or any company. There are some people who are built to be leaders, and there's some people who are not built to be leaders. And again, it's not about being built or being born into leadership. You can obviously develop those skills and grow them, but that takes intention. It takes actual work around those things. And so you have to really work at those things to really be there. But everyone's not a leader, and everyone is also not a follower. There are some people who are better at being better at being leaders and who can grow and cultivate that ability for themselves. And there are some folks who are much more comfortable and better off not being leaders and just, whether being followers, whatever you want to call it, but they're better following a plan or being told what to do and executing on that thing. And so it's a matter of, first of all, deciding for yourself, what is that? Which one are you? And are you starting a business for the right reasons? So that's the first question I would ask you. But the other thing is, when you're starting a business, you want to start a business. You don't want to give yourself 12 jobs, because that's what a lot of people do. They say, I'm going to start a business because it sounds sexy or it sounds cool. It's like, oh yeah, I own my own business, or I started my own business, or I'm a business owner, right? I'm self-employed. I work for myself. I make my own schedule, all that good stuff. But in reality, in the very beginning, when you're starting out, you don't really make your own schedule. You don't really have control of your time as much as you think you want to do, because you actually are out there networking and trying to build your business. And there's some folks who start their businesses because they have a great contract in place or potential for, really good connection off the bat. And that's fantastic. To those people, more power to you. And that's amazing. But that's starting where you are. And that well eventually will dry up, right? Or it's a situation where if that contract goes away, your entire business goes away. In that case, you don't really have a business. You have a contract to contract job, essentially, with less security. So it's one of those things where you want to diversify your client base, so you're not reliant on one client to basically carry your entire business forward. Because if that client goes away for any reason, if that contract goes away for any reason, so does your business. And that's not really a viable business. But back to the idea of just having so many responsibilities as a business owner, you're going to be wearing way too many hats in the very beginning. And that's just natural to start out that way. But the first thing you want to do as a business owner is really kind of try to figure out a way to outsource as much of that as possible. Find out where your strengths are, where your real abilities are in terms of your business. If you have a strong financial background, then maybe you do your own bookkeeping and you don't need to hire a bookkeeper for that. But outsource the other things, like maybe the marketing, or get a VA to help you with certain things. I'm not saying do this right away. Obviously, when you're starting out, you're not going to have a whole lot of resources in theory, and so you want to conserve your resources, and that makes perfect sense. So you'll be doing everything yourself, pretty much everything yourself, for the first 6 months or a year, maybe even longer, depending on what's going on. And so as you're doing those things for yourself, pay attention to what you really enjoy doing, what you can tolerate, and what you absolutely can't stand doing. And the things in that column, that last column of things you can't stand doing, or things you're not good at doing. It's not even things you don't like to do. It's things you're not good at doing. You can't afford to do things you're not good at for your business. So those are the first things you want to outsource, things you're not good at. Then go to things you can't stand doing. That's going to be the next list you tackle. And then things you're okay doing and things that you're good at, those are going to be things you hold on to for a little longer, especially if you're trying to conserve capital and conserve your money. That's the progression you want to go to that point, where now you're looking at being strategic in how you attack your business. And so now the things that you're not good at are handled by someone else who is good at those things, and you're paying them to be good at those things so that your business continues to move forward in a positive direction. The things that you can't stand doing, that take away all your energy, are also being outsourced. So that way you have the energy to pursue the other things you do want to do in your business, aka like business development, having conversations with folks, networking and building your connections, and being that connector that you can be for yourself to be a resource for your clients. And then the things that you're able to do for yourself that you're good at and or enjoy doing, and the things that you're okay at and can tolerate, you're doing those things for yourself, at least until you can afford to outsource them as well. That's the strategic way to grow that. And that's actually the path towards scaling your business. And scaling is what a lot of people talk about scaling, and they don't really understand what it actually means. Scaling is not just getting additional contracts. Scaling is essentially scaling your time. It's not just scaling your business. Because what that means is you're saying, for example, a consultant is working and dependent on their own time. So if I'm consulting for someone, I'm going out there and I'm working. Every hour I work, I get paid for that hour, 1-to-1 hour to hourly pay, right? But if I want to scale my business, I'll bring someone else on who can do similar work to what I can do, or can do complementary work, and then I'll be billing them out at the same time that I'm working. So now that 1 hour is paying me 1.5 or 2 times what I was getting paid before, because I'm paying for that other person as well. Now, will you have to lose some money in the short term to pay that other person? Probably, but it's not really a loss if you look at it really. In the short term, it will be a quick dip, but once you bring that person up to speed and are able to market that person and really get them business in that realm of things, and your business starts to grow in those different directions, now you're building out that person and yourself, and then you bring another person on over time once that stabilizes, and then you go from there and you keep growing that way. So that way, eventually, now you're not even delivering services at all. You're taking a step back in your business to actually work on the business and growing it overall. That's what scalability really means. And if you listen to what I was saying so far, you've removed pretty much all the other jobs other than business ownership from your plate. Whereas you started with 12 or 15 extra jobs, now you only have one: business ownership, and maybe two, which is management and that kind of thing. But if, again, as your business grows, and if you grow it intentionally, you can hire a manager, you can hire folks like that to take that middle level management off your plate as well. And that's where you want to be at a certain point, where you're not working 15 or 20 jobs in your business. You're actually working on the business as a whole to grow it and to really be of service to your clients. And you can bring on folks to do that. Now, that may not be your vision, and that's totally fine. But that's what growing and scaling means, right? Your vision may be that you really want to work and work directly with the clients all the time, and that's totally fine. Again, that's not a wrong thing. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing to do at all. What I'm saying is that if you want to build a situation where you don't have to work all the time, where you're really in control of all your time, and you're not dependent on someone else, that's the way to do that, is to grow and scale your business and build it in a way that's, one, intentional, two, removing all the different jobs from your plate you don't necessarily have to do yourself, and three, really playing to your strengths. Because if you don't do that, if you don't take the time to really define that for yourself, you're going to be exhausted, you're going to be tired, you're going to be worn out, and you're probably going to end up going back to that 9-to-5 job that you hate so much. But the difference is you'll be a couple $100,000 cheaper, poorer, or maybe $20,000 poorer. So keep that in mind when you're looking to start a business. Don't pay attention to these different multi-level marketing companies and whatnot that are out there. There's a place for that, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, they're not invested in your success. They're invested in their success. And they want you to work with them because they ultimately get something out of it. They're not really truly trying to empower you to do well on your own, unless they really are supporting you with business development tactics and that kind of thing, which a lot of them frankly don't do. I mean, they're out there, they talk a big game about how this person succeeded, that person succeeded, and then they always add that little that little disclaimer: your results may vary, or that these are not typical results. People don't pay attention to that. They're like, oh, I'll get those results, I'll work my ass off and do it. And you absolutely can if you do work your ass off. But you have to really enjoy it for it to be worth it for you to work your ass off at that particular thing, instead of working your ass off for the 9-to-5 that you're leaving, where it's stable income, guaranteed income at that point. My advice for folks is always, if you have a 9-to-5 that is even tolerable at that point, stick with it while you start your business on the side, and then grow and scale that intentionally. And then once you're able to replace the income, then switch over, or get to a point where you're comfortable switching over. Absolutely switch over, but don't let go of that unless, in which case, if it's toxic, then absolutely, please take care of your mental health. Do what you have to do for yourself. Take care of you. I will never say how to do that. I'm just saying, evaluate your situation effectively. Don't just leave your job because you think it's sexier or cooler or more fun to have your own business. It's not. It sounds great, but it's a lot of work. And there's not a business I can think of, or not a business owner I can think of, who went straight from 9 to 5 to business and it's suddenly successful right up overnight. It may seem that way to some folks, but I guarantee you, if that person left their job today and tomorrow the business is successful on their own, they put in a lot of work before they got to that point to get to that point. And so really talk to them about it, go under the hood, have a conversation with them, ask them, talk to different folks who, if you've seen people in your network who had that experience, who really just, as soon as they flipped the switch, things were happening for them, that's great. Have a conversation with them. Really evaluate for yourself if that was one, luck, which it can happen and absolutely does happen, but it's much more rare. Or two, if it was hard work that they were putting in for the last year and a half, 2 years, while they were doing their full-time job, in addition to that, to really make that happen. And that's more than likely the case, because you don't always see what's happening under the surface, right? It's like a duck on a pond. Entrepreneurs are essentially ducks on ponds, right? They look really calm and peaceful on top, but their legs are churning 500 miles an hour underneath. And when you see that happening, when you talk to them, really look under the hood and see all the stuff that they're doing behind the scenes, it's overwhelming for folks, because they're like, oh, I didn't realize that you're doing all that extra stuff. I didn't realize you have to do all these things, to keep the lights on, so to speak. And yeah, there's a ton of stuff to do. There's never a dull moment. If there's a moment where I get to just kind of relax and do nothing, I'm in my head, I'm kind of suspecting, like, what am I missing? Am I missing something here right now? Or am I, and that's something that I've over time, I've learned to kind of be okay with that, because sometimes I am missing something, but sometimes mostly it's like I've gotten things in place that are moving. I'm waiting for responses on a lot of things. But when those responses come in, I got to be able to jump on them. So just remember that as an entrepreneur, it's not all just the sexy, fun stuff that you talk about and hear about people succeeding and winning all the time. There are going to be some losses. There are going to be some situations where it gets tougher than you want it to be, and you got to weather through the storm. So keep that in mind and understand that it's always a journey, right? There's ups and downs, and you got to be able to weather the downs so you can celebrate the ups. Anyway, I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you thought so, please hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this with someone who might find it valuable. If you know folks who have bought into some of these multi-level marketing scams or these like online trainings, become a coach in 2 weeks, certified by who? It's a whole nother conversation I could get into, and I've talked about it several times on this channel. But feel free to jump in to the comments below. Let me know what you're talking about, what you're thinking about business-wise. What are some success stories? What are some failure stories? And failure is not a bad word. I just want you guys to know it is an F word, but it's not a bad one. So take care, guys. Stay safe. Have a great week, and I'll see you guys again next week. Take care.